novelties. Okay, so, all right, let's go to the first question. First question is from Cassie in KL. Cassie asks, I've tried some methods, but it doesn't seem to work. How do I get a strong motivating reason to be responsible? Okay, so this is the one thing I do want to help you guys out with. When it comes to finding a strong motivating reason, like I can't really tell you what your strong motivating reason is. However, in order for you to become more responsible and get that strong motivating reason first, you have to actually sit down and think about it and study about it, research about yourself. You know, like one of the things that whenever I do like a vision workshop for people, when I do a workshop for people, one of the first things I do is I ask people, what do they really want in life? Like, what do they really, really want? And you look in many areas, whether it's about relationship, what do I want when it comes to relationships? What do I want when it comes to finance? What do I want when it comes to my career? What do I want when it comes to my personality or my character? Right? You have to ask yourself these questions and you have to think about it. And it's not something that's so simple. It's like, oh, I want this, I want a car. But in a lot of cases, that's not a strong motivating reason. You have to really sit down and reflect, meditate, and think about what is a strong motivating reason. Okay? I hope that helps you out, Cassie. Let's go to the next one. We're going to Lawrence. Lawrence in Jakarta. All right, Lawrence in Jakarta. What's going on here? Lawrence in Jakarta says, even though I have set my schedule, I sometimes end up following temptations and get astray from my plans. So what should I do? Okay, so you've set up your schedule and sometimes you end up following the temptations, right? So let's just say that you have a plan or this is gonna probably be number 3, okay? So remember what I talked about number 3 today was planning for temptation. Planning for temptation. So when you're planning for temptation, it's like these if-then scenarios that come into your mind, which means that usually in a day, you should be thinking about these if-then scenarios, especially when you're starting to become responsible. You should be doing it multiple times, thinking about if-then scenarios, right? Hey, wait, today's Tuesday. Tuesday, the guys always go out. You know, I can't do this, you know, so if they ask me to go out, I'm going to say this. And if they go out, I'm going to say this, and you need to practice it, right? The one thing you have to understand is you have to, it's like exercise, like strengthening a muscle. Before it comes up, you have to be someone who actually practices hey, I'm not gonna do this. You have to practice your self-control so that when they come up to you with this, it's not like a foreign thing, like caught off guard, like, oh, I never thought about this. It's gonna be like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Oh, tonight I gotta study, I got this, and this. Oh, we're gonna do this tonight. Yeah, I know, I wish I could, but I can't. And when you pre-plan for these things, you have to strengthen the self-control, right? You have to strengthen it and make sure that you practice it enough so that when someone asks you something, what do? Then you can instantly react. You'll be practiced and well-versed, and you'll be able to answer the question properly, okay? So Lawrence in Jakarta, I hope that helps you out, but I think that's one good thing that you're doing that everyone else can learn from is that you have set your schedule. Which I would, you know, later when we talk about success of organization, scheduling is so important. And that's something I think everyone can learn from is you have to have like a scheduler. You write the things you need to do, right? Too many people live a life where it's kind of wandering. Like whatever comes to my mind, then I'll do it. Oh, I completely forgot I had a meeting. Oh, I completely forgot I have to study. Oh my gosh, right? A lot of people are going to freak out because of these different things because it just comes upon them and they forgot about it, they haven't prepared, and they're going straight into a test or a meeting and they had no idea it was there. Okay? So Lawrence in Jakarta, thank you so much for that question. Someone who schedules but strays from their plans, what should I do? And that's going to be tip number 3 today. Okay, let's go to the next question. Next question comes from Malaysia, from Sam in PJ. Sam in PJ. Okay, Sam in PJ. And the question is, do one thing at a time. How should I know which to prioritize? All right. So it really depends on the situation. It really does. To be honest, like for instance, when you look at George's situation, the number one thing that mattered for him was living. Like if you don't have any money, he can't eat. And for him, it's a little bit easier, right? But there's sometimes we have certain things in life where you could do this or you could do that. Now, if things are equal, then I would go with the thing that you like more. something you like better, because you're more inclined to do something you desire to do or you like to do more. So Sam, if there are things that are kind of comparable, then definitely I would choose the one that I like more. But if you're not really sure which one is the one you should prioritize, then I would go back into the struggle. When I talk about the struggle, how do you fight against the struggle of making choices? You need to educate yourselves, right? Educate yourself about the choices the choices you have, and educate yourselves about the consequences of each of those things. If I do this first, what is the consequence? What am I giving up from not doing this? Or if I do this first, what is the consequence of not giving this up? One thing I do want to say is the same thing I said for the very first question too, is you need to sit down. Like all of us, we have to actually sit down. Sit down and look at it and study it. I'm dead serious. Educate yourselves. Don't just sit there like, which one should I do? I don't know. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, I'm going to do that one. No, you got to do it where you educate yourself really well. And you make an informed decision. And you study as much as you can. And one thing I would also do too is I would give myself a deadline. I'm going to make my choice by tonight at 10 p.m., which means that you are going to study and study and study until that time. You look at the pros and cons of each, what are the consequences and what are the benefits, and then you choose one over the other for a priority. All right? Thank you, Sam, for that. I believe we have another question from Ichigo. All right, we have a super fan, Ichigo in Korea. How do I clean my past thoughts about someone? Okay, so one thing is you don't necessarily have to clean, like I'm not sure what you mean by clean, but you don't have to get rid of it, because it's very, very hard to stop remembering things. It's very, very difficult, right? It's kind of like what I said before about cognitive dissonance theory. If you have a certain thinking about a person, then you only see those things. And whenever they treat you bad, then you only think, oh, I knew they hated me. I knew they hated me. But what the best thing to do is, how do you clean your past about someone? The first thing you have to ask yourself is this. What life would you rather live? This is a question everyone has to ask themselves. How many people want to live in suffering? How many people want to live being upset at someone? How many people want to go through that pain and suffering of just, ah? And the answer is, nobody wants to go through it, if you really think about it. You have to choose what type of life you want to live. And 100% of the people don't want to live that way. But if you don't change the way you see people, right, then what happens is you're always going to be living in pain and suffering, right? You always live in that pain and suffering. And what I'm going to say to you, Ichigo, is this. To clean your thoughts about someone, the best thing I've ever seen work more than anything else is communication. And I'm dead serious. It's always communication. Communication is the best thing to break misunderstanding, or to make us realize what is the real, like, oh, this is why they did that. Oh, I totally misunderstood. Or you might realize this person did it because they really don't like you, because you did something to them. That's why communication is always the best way. It is. And if you understand, like if you talk and communicate to these people about what you're feeling, and you tell them exactly what you think, if anything, you'll get an answer. And the answer could be, it's not good to be close to them. It could be, oh, they don't really like you because of something, or you might have done something bad to them, but you'll get an answer. And it's better to get an answer than to leave it wide open and you're just kind of guessing what they think or what they feel, right? So I hope, Ichigo, one of the best things you can do to clean your thoughts about a person is to communicate as much as you can. Okay? So, is this the last question? One more question. Okay, so I am reading it word for word. How not to lose track in certain decisions, which I thought is the clearest answer. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna just have a drink of my matcha latte, and then this will be the last question for the day. Cool, I know that everyone's just waiting for the quiz, right? It's 5 bubble teas. Okay, this is from Hannah. Hannah is from where? Not sure where Hannah is. Okay, Hannah, how do you not lose track in certain decisions, which I thought is the clearest answer? sometimes during the day, I get tempted to think, maybe this is not the clearest answer after all. Okay, so one thing we have to know in life, and I think this is a very, very good thing, Hannah, is one thing we do have to recognize, like 100% recognize is we don't have the answers. Like we're ignorant. There are many things we don't know, which is a very, very first healthy thought is, I don't know the answers. I don't. And when you first have that realization, then what happens is you look at certain decisions you're making and you think, oh, this is the clearest answer I have. Okay? So it's like, yeah, this is maybe the clearest answer. But there are some times when you think a little bit more deeply about it, it's like, maybe that's not it. Maybe there's something deeper. I'll tell you right now is there's always a better answer. But there's very rarely like the answer that is nothing else but this. Especially when it comes to decisions in life, like when it comes to people, when it comes to like getting jobs, when it comes to these types of things, there's no such thing as this is the number one answer and there's nothing better, greater or better for this, right? So we have to understand is we don't have, the answers can get clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer. Sometimes we're right at the moment, but I tell you one thing that's very true about all people is when you raise your level, when you become someone, you raise the level of your thinking, then the clear answer you have here may not be clear here and like, oh, there's a better answer than this. So sometimes you could be at the verge and you're getting a clear answer here, but as you're going through your day, you're realizing more deeply about it and you raise your level and all of a sudden it's not as clear because your thinking has gotten to another level because you kept thinking about it over and over again, right? The one thing you don't want to do is never make a choice because then nothing is ever going to happen. So yeah, sometimes we do lose track, and sometimes during the day, it might not be temptation, but it might be, oh, maybe there's something better. And this is why if you realize we don't always have the clearest answer, it's always good for those of you who are spiritual to pray, ask God for a clear answer. And a lot of us also know that God speaks to us through people. Ask other people what they think about it too. Ask someone you really trust who you think is wise, what they think about the situation or what they think about it also. Okay, and that's something that will lead us towards the better and better answer. All right, there is one more question from Young Cheng. I know everyone's like, oh, why are there so many questions? I want to go straight to the question to get my free bubble tea, right? But Young Cheng in Serdang. Okay, he asks, I know feedback is good for us, but sometimes it's really not easy to accept. That's true. I agree. How should I accept that feedback? You have to accept it well. I tell you one thing is, sometimes it's hard. Especially when people say it in a bad way or they say it in a very rough way. I understand it's a hard thing to accept feedback. But the only way for you to accept feedback better is when you keep receiving it. Right? It's almost like this. Can you imagine, let's pretend your heart is like a rock. Right? Well, do you guys know what a jawbreaker is? A jawbreaker is a very hard shell on the outside, and if you put it in your mouth and suck it a long time, it gets really weak, and then you crack into the middle. And there are some things in life that are like a jawbreaker, which means that it's really hard on the outside but soft on the inside. So some people are not good at receiving feedback. So feedback comes, it's like, ting, ting, you're like, oh, right? But what happens is the only way you're going to get into the soft center is if you keep hitting it with feedback. You got to keep hitting it with feedback until it softens up, until you get used to it, until you realize, oh, this, I know this is beneficial. It hurts, but I have to keep receiving it. And what I'm telling you now is, don't wait too long to receive your next feedback. Because if it's too long, then it comes back to hardening again, right? You want to get healthy amounts. Don't get like 40 people to give you feedback at once. You'll die. Right? Get someone you trust. Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think I should change? It's like, yeah, maybe this is like, oh, that's a great idea. Oh, thank you so much. Right? And then the next week or 2 weeks later, or maybe 3 weeks later, a month later, say, hey, I've been trying to change a bit. What do you got? What do you think? Am I doing okay? It's like, oh yeah, you're not doing too bad. Yeah, I'm gonna try a little bit harder. So what happens is you want to work together in the feedback, right? And of course, with your feedback, sometimes feedback is an opinion, which means you're not there to defend yourself and say, no, that's wrong, I'm totally not like that. Oh no, I did this because of this. No, it's not for them. Because everyone has an opinion. So opinions are never wrong. So if they, it's like, oh, okay, oh, cool, right? And if you might not agree with it, don't talk to yourself about that. Because that's what cognitive dissonance does too. Cognitive dissonance, you'll try to make yourself not like that. It's like, no, it's only that because you'll justify, you make reasons up to make you not look that bad. It's better to talk to someone else you trust and say, hey, am I like this? And they say, well, yeah, you kind of are. It's like, ooh, okay, then I get it. But the best way is like, you got to practice on your heart. It hurts. You just got to keep hearing it. Got to keep hearing it, right? It's not good in life just to only hear good things, okay? So yeah, young Cheng, that's a tough one, but you got to keep going through it over and over again in order to soften yourself. All right, let's see. Everyone have a wonderful day. Once again, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Espresso with Sky. Subscribe, hit the bell, support us on Patreon, and also sign up for the Bible study at 1 p.m. this Saturday. Everyone have a wonderful day. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.